Shut up and sit down.
Because this message is for the experienced cyclists who've been at this a long time. You guys do not screw this up.
I see you clean dripping. You never ever manage. Clean as the new square. Clean was for last year.
Do not screw this up and make cycling this obnoxious, exclusive sport anymore with your dumb rules and making fun of the new guy on the group ride.
Here's my sunscreen. I got the disc brake. I got my fork ranked. I got my seat dropped. I push it real.
You are listening to the Dialed Podcast with Matt Legrand, Evan Price, Lance Hepler, and Jake Von During. Dr. Martin Luther King once said that the function of education is to teach one to think intensively and to think critically. Intelligence plus character. That is the goal of true education. Well said.
Roadies doing laundry for every little spill. I wrote it so hard. I got dirt in my grill.
And you answer them. You help people out, but you don't shame them. You don't make fun of them. This is a community that we're all in.
I got a 9-inch travel. 30 inches. 30 girls.
Everyone who learns how to ride a bike now is going to be one less person who's honking at us in the street later. It's going to be more people who are advocating for bike lanes and safety.
That's right. You gotta get dirty.
We have another chance at cycling being awesome, and let's take advantage of it. Let's grow this community together, all of us.
Cycling is a lifestyle capable of improving the world. It is also a way of bringing people together.
Hi, and welcome back to the Dial Podcast. I'm Jake Von During, and I'm here with Lance Hepler.
Lance, no pants, coming live from the bathroom.
Acceptable. That's coming live from the bathroom.
That was actually our original plan. Was to just tune him in straight from the
That
bathroom.
just walked out of the bathroom.
That almost happened. It almost
But he had a
happened.
quick movement. It was an efficient movement, wasn't it, Lance?
That's an acceptable.
Let's not talk about movements.
You're welcome.
Bathroom movements.
Let's not connect those right
Poor
now.
choice of words.
Jay's right, Evan Price.
Don't ask me about technology.
Don't ask me about that. What are you sipping? Well,
No. We're switching intros.
switching.
Matt, it's your turn.
That was it.
That was it.
Was this voted on by?
Don't ask me about technology, Matt.
Okay.
There we go.
Wow. I know. It was a quick vote around the table. Does that pass?
Sure. Whatever.
We may be able to add a little bit to it. Lance, that was
Think about it.
I think I need to add a bit to it. I think I need to add a little bit.
All right.
All right. Now, work in progress, folks. Work in progress.
Yeah.
To his right, Matt Legrand.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen of the internet? You guys look fantastic today.
I feel
Thank you.
happy.
You look questionable.
You look
That's for
mustachy.
sure. Yeah, that's not going away.
No, I don't
Not right
think so.
now.
No.
Not
It's
today.
looking nicely trimmed. You're shaving everything else pretty clean.
Yeah.
Does it scare small
Yeah.
children?
Yeah.
Do you scare your own children?
Yeah.
Does it scare?
Does it scare your wife?
My son FaceTimes me and he's like, "Oh, Dad, why?
Why?
You still have that?" I'm like, "Because of that right there. Because of that response."
You got 3 more weeks late.
I was about to shave it, and
But
now I'm keeping it.
It's staying.
Because of you, Lake, you have to deal with this for 3 more weeks now.
Winning. All right. It's been a good week, I think. Let's run around the table with a little backpedal. Matt, you want to start us off?
Sure. I got nothing to talk about backpedal wise. I'll tell you about my workout yesterday.
Oh.
Yesterday, I spent a solid 2 hours. And that's being, I'd say, a lot of people exaggerate on podcasts like this one.
Uh-huh.
I'm probably exaggerating on the other side. It took me probably more than 2 hours to change a tire
Oh no.
Oh, yes.
on the there's like this NV wheel that's super nice.
Does that count as a workout?
It
I
was
think
my
so.
workout.
Did you
That
Garmin
was-
the workout?
I didn't go up on Strava, so yeah.
If you're frustrated enough that your heart rate gets
Heart rate
above
was
Muscular
then-
tension workout.
so finally wrestle this tube and tire onto the wheel and go to pump it up, and no, it's the tube that I had put in was flat. So I just hung my head, walked into the house, had dinner with my family, and then I gathered the momentum to go back out to the garage and try again.
And then promptly retired from cycling.
Yeah. Second time I was like, okay, this is going on better, whatever. Like, that's fine. Only took me probably we'll say 15, 20 minutes, which is still a long time to change a tire. But same thing. Go pump it up and nothing. And I was like, that's it. That's all my tubes. Like, I'm out. I am so frustrated that I'm going to talk about this on the podcast. That's how frustrated I am. And I even brought the wheel in here And while we were waiting on Lance, I was like, yeah, sure, Jake, take a crack at it. And I was like pretty sure. I was like, wow, he's gonna play with this thing. It's gonna be like, this thing is a bear. This is a horrible thing.
30 seconds.
30 seconds. Yeah. 30 seconds. He almost did it with his hand. He did have to grab the tire lever.
Yeah.
For like 2 seconds, but he mostly did. So that hurt my pride.
I saw Jake rip a tire off the tube in the rain and Vancouver Lake on a tube. I literally sat there for 15 minutes trying. I was like, "There's no way Jake's gonna be able to get this," and
he
pop,
ripped it off.
Right off. Yeah.
Ugh.
That
hurt.
Everybody's been through this, Matt. Everybody has had this experience.
Everyone's had Jake.
It's never taken me 2 hours to do it.
Where you just can't get it right, or you just.
This was a lot of time. I was like, I'm gonna be sore tomorrow.
Matt's sweating right now thinking about it.
It was a tough day, man.
Happy to.
It's a big workout.
So that was my back pedal. That's my workouts for the week.
That's a great week, Matt.
Yeah.
All right, fantastic.
But some people have these super productive weeks, Evan. And others get a tire change by having Jake do it for them.
I wouldn't call whatever I was doing super productive, but we probably equally productive.
Hey, Lance and Matt, what's the over/under on the number of hours Evan spent on Zwift this past week?
Ooh, that's a great question.
Let's say I'm going to say 18 hours on Zwift.
That's going to be pretty close to right.
Over or under?
Under.
Under?
You're going to say under? I'll say over.
Evan?
Under.
Under?
Yes.
This last week was down.
Perfect.
I think Lance cheated. He probably saw it.
I did not.
Oh, you didn't? You set an instinct for it?
I'm looking at my own Strava page. Yeah. As ridiculous as that sounds.
Well, you got to remember what you did.
That's
yeah.
right.
Yeah. So I had another week of training, which had a lot of feet of elevation gain.
Did you do?
Oh, did you?
I'm just climbing a lot.
You just
It's
did
I win.
Alp to Zwift?
Yeah,
Friends parking lot.
so like Saturday and Sunday's
thank
weather
you.
wasn't awesome, especially Saturdays. We were talking about this before. It was like rain and buckets Saturdays here, just absolutely pouring the entire day. So I was inside on Alp to Zwift. I almost made it 5 times through Alp to Zwift. I was like 4.5. I started It's not that I got to the mental wheel started to fall off 4.5 in.
Every hour, I walked to the window, looked outside, and went,
Yeah.
I'm not going out.
And each hour, I had to descend back down, help to Zwift, and think, still not nice outside. We
What's
gotta do this
interesting is
again.
that we'd have these breaks in the weather where you're like, oh, this looks maybe
the sun
like
came out. Oh,
this looks like a maybe.
Yeah.
Nope.
But yeah, that was had a great swim at Horseshoe Lake on Sunday. That was the first time I'd ever been to Horseshoe Lake. I like it.
I've never swam there.
It's great.
I really want
very
to.
clean water. Actually, very, very clean water. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I had my 2 longest runs and added a lot of tempo. It's weird how I don't think I lost a ton of run fitness. It's still there. I'm just.
How's the swim fitness though? I mean, you haven't swam.
I mean, like I'm swimming once a week,
yeah.
basically.
I'm
So
swimming
it's-
basically
yeah.
twice a week, and it's Fallen Leaf Lake is good.
Yeah,
It's beautiful.
I'm truly enjoying open water swimming. Like every time I swim open water swimming, I'm like, why do I swim in pools? This is great.
It is nice.
It's so much nicer than staring at a black line. It's probably because I'm not really a swimmer, but yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
But I'm really enjoying my time being a cyclist. I'm just basically a cyclist until we get through this Everest attempt.
It's only a matter of a little bit more time.
I know. And that bike, Jake. Oh my God, that bike. Oh, I went on a group ride Friday with Mike and Tonk, which is basically just our weekly flogging of each other. We just sit there. So I'll like.
Wait.
You all have ridden with Mike Guyvan. That guy's. You know what his like true.
likes to hurt, doesn't he?
Oh God, he does. You know what his like true talent on a bike is? His ability to hold. So like we'll be sprinting up these short hills in Ridgefield, side by side, and he always has there's always another gear. That guy can just all of a sudden like rip out a 1400 watt sprint just out of nowhere.
Well, I was warned before this ride that you guys were going to go chase some of my KOMs, and
they were all safe.
They were all safe.
We went.
You didn't really go for any. That's why.
We went a little bit different route. We went up towards Ridgefield, which I actually wish we had gone towards some of your KOMs because I think Ridgefield's fun, but that's nothing. But it was similar to that ride we did on your birthday.
Yeah,
it's just nothing but up down.
We need
You're
to
just
get
sprinting
it's
up and down
rollers.
hills. Yeah,
we need to
just
get some of
rollers.
Jake's. I feel like we need to get some of Jake's for payback.
There's
Sick of
one
getting these
particularly
emails,
we're gonna get
letters.
back. Don't you worry. There's one we're gonna get back for sure.
Lake?
Yeah,
Lake Road. I feel
not
is a
gonna
good
happen.
one.
Lake and Vancouver, both lakes need to go down. Yeah.
Well, the Lake one, the Vancouver one went down. Tonk and Handel went out
Tonk
there.
and Handel went.
Tonk
Yeah, I
and Handel
completely
went out
forgot
there.
that. Yep.
They sunk that thing by 56 seconds. I saw that, my jaw hit the ground. I was like, good God.
Yep. And then he went out and rode later that day with me and Mike.
Yeah.
Yep.
He is a glutton for punishment. Yeah.
Cool. Lance, you want to backpedal?
Sure. I actually had a pretty productive week as far as riding. It was like 17 hours and almost 300 miles.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I had a good time. So, lots of big rides. I rode with Jake twice.
Yep.
I think Jake and I rode twice together. That was kind of nice.
Did you guys ride Saturday outside?
Sunday.
No, Sunday.
Sunday outside.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we went out. We actually rode yesterday together, and we actually kept it in Z2. We actually did not
Easy day.
flog each other. We kept it easy.
So I looked at that text as it came across, and I went for a run. But did you get just dumped on with rain or
A couple times.
we got sprinkled on. We
Not
didn't
bad.
get terribly dumped on. I came home soaking wet, but
Yeah.
weather was weird yesterday?
yeah, but not too bad. But yeah, the rest of the week, we actually, Jake and I, we did get a KOM on a ride that we did earlier in the week. It was Matt's favorite road south.
I saw that you got that one. It was you. It wasn't Jake that got the KOM.
Well, that's because
Jake led you out or whatever.
No.
No.
It was a full solo effort, but I was fully expecting Jake to come around me.
Right.
So I'm like, okay, I'm going to go really hard, and then he can just go right
Yeah.
at the end. And he didn't. He
Eased up.
Little etiquette there, man.
he
Little etiquette.
let me have it. And then I ended up just tying him. Did you have a faster time than that, or was that the same time?
You tied my old time.
I tied your old time.
from a couple years ago.
Yeah.
It's a nice road.
Yeah, it's a great road.
It's a nice road.
So they weren't
It's one of my favorites. One of my favorites.
Maybe the favorite.
That's just what it says right there.
I rode with my wife a couple of times, and we had a good time. Oh, yeah, and I forgot about that. I did a century on Thursday.
Because that's what you do on a Thursday.
I was like, does anyone want to go out? Lance, you want to go again?
That's right, because I'd already ridden that day.
It looked like you maybe had done the rack course or something. Or
It was several steep climbs way up in North County.
Yeah.
That there is a group of 5 people that were going up there, and I decided to go with them.
who was it?
It was Joe Hamilton.
Oh, okay. That's cool.
And Tim Gray and some guys from Portland. Trey Tran.
Was it pretty mellow?
It was pretty mellow. I was the obnoxious one that
Sure.
was
You're
going
Lance.
too hard. Yeah. So, but it
Shocking.
was a little bit more mellow. But yeah, it was like a 70-mile ride, and I tacked some on to.
Does the mustache make you feel
Finish
like you
this.
must be that rider on each ride you go on?
It makes me
Does it
feel
empower you
like
to
I
do that?
cannot be taken seriously at all.
So
and
if you were-
because I can't be taken seriously, I better show them how fast I
It's a
can
slippery
ride.
slope.
It's a pretty slippery slope.
This is like wearing a pro kit on a ride. It's like you better do something.
My favorite thing about this week, a teammate of ours, Mike Reddig, went for a ride and ran into one of my nephews in Camas, and my mustache did come up.
Ooh, of course.
And how it needs to go away. And I said, never, I'm not going to go away.
Mike's one of the funniest people I've met, so I'm sure he had some hilarious comments about your mustache.
Well, do you want to hear the comment?
I would actually love to hear the comments from Mike.
Because I said, no, I'm not shaving it.
Uh-huh.
Lance, you will be ostracized from the group, forced to fend for yourself in this barren land with no TP and dwindling yeast supplies. If you are willing to accept this path, then kiss Brandy one last time. She will not allow your bristly face near her again. And then head off into the wilderness with a bag of nutrition and the shame of knowing you have betrayed the code of resistance, forever tarnished this shaven aesthetic of the Dialed Triathlon team. Oh, wait. Triathlons are fairly low down in the hierarchy of approval, but still.
How did we get thrown under the bus
While
here?
we appreciate the extra press, we are uncomfortable with your out-of-the-box hairstylings, and we would ask you to wrangle that beast before we have to call you a hit on that monstrosity on your upper lip. Thank you, Mike Reddick.
Is Mike
calling
asking?
me out.
That sounds like he's asking him to join the triathlon team. Honestly, that sounds like to me.
Honestly, that's a brilliant comment.
I think so.
Very well done.
It was brilliant.
Just need to bring Mike on.
Yeah, he would be excellent on the podcast.
He'd be hilarious.
Be good.
It's a part-time comedian.
So that was my week. I rode a lot, and I felt pretty good, and my legs feel fantastic, and I'm rounding into shape for nothing that is coming up.
I'm in excellent shape for all the races I'm not doing.
I'll run through mine real quick. I've been doing my typical gravel workout on Tuesdays. It's like weeks and weeks and weeks in a row of me doing my gravel ride on Tuesday, which was fun. Went out and did that by myself. If anybody wants to join me, probably tomorrow, you'll know where I'm at and where I'm going. Yeah, that was fun. Rode with Lance, like he said, on Wednesday. That was a good time. Went out and did some climbing. He's like, where you want to go? I'm like, you want to go do Summer Hill? He's like, no, but let's go. It's just like you can tell he's like, oh, I don't want to do that, but all right, let's go.
Summerhill is a hard climb.
It is a hard climb.
Yeah.
But we went out. We had a good time.
For you folks out there that are looking at doing 10K climbs or even possibly Everesting, that's a good little hill.
That was actually
option.
basically our number 2 climb was going to be Summerhill.
The only thing about it that's not ideal, if you're looking to do it for time, it's got a couple bends at the bottom, little turns at the bottom. But that, for me, that creates a little bit of fun. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So,
Yes.
but I don't know, less
It's
traffic.
steep.
It's steep. It's long. You're going to get it done quickly. So that was a fun little one.
Why did you choose? Why did you guys even go do that? I thought you guys were kind of avoiding hills at this point.
Yeah,
This
Jake,
is why.
Why did
This
you
is
make
why
me
I
go
thought
out
that.
there?
This is why I thought you were both swearing off riding with me for the foreseeable future.
We're not gonna ride. We're not gonna ride with Evan. He just rides hills all the time.
I've even tried to chase
Summer
Jake
hills.
down in the middle of Camas, and he just waved me off.
Oh, no,
It
Go
was
away.
only one climb.
Go
It was
away,
a
man.
it was a beautiful night, and it's a great view from up there.
Yeah,
So
it
it's
is.
just
Oh,
kind of
okay.
nice to get up there and
Yeah.
do one climb. And it was
It's a beautiful area.
short enough to where it wasn't going to bother my shoulder. Now, if Evan had come with us, like, let's do this 47 times.
Yeah.
No.
EG.
Did a couple lake laps on Thursday,
Oh yeah,
which was fun.
There's a cool KOM that you got that was like the loop around the lake. I didn't even know about that KOM, but it's basically like the lap of the lake.
Yeah,
and there's
it's-
one going clockwise and one going counterclockwise.
Yeah, the clockwise one is better because you're not having to deal with lights. You can hit right.
You're turning right?
Exactly.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it was kind of funny. I didn't even think about doing that, but I think it was 2 days before that, I got a little email. I'm like, oh, what segment is that? And I went and looked. I'm like, oh, there's a time trial like around the lake.
Who
and
had gotten that one?
I don't remember.
Don't remember.
Well, it was Matthew Bercampus took it from me.
Oh, okay.
And I'm like, I didn't even know I had that segment, but hey, cool. I'll go out there and do that one of these days. I wasn't planning on it until Thursday. I needed to kind of stay close to home because my
Right.
wife was down swimming at Fallen Leaf Lake, probably with you. And my oldest daughter was gone. So my 2 younger ones were still coming home. I'm like, I probably should stay somewhat close to home in case they need
Yeah.
me. That's not far away at all. So I'm like, I'll go out there and ride a couple times around the lake. And then I'm riding, I'm like, my legs feel pretty good. I think I'm going to go attempt to take that KOM back.
Because you
So-
had to go pretty decent, a decent clip to hold.
Yeah, I think I averaged, it was.
Because it's what 30 minutes to get around the lake,
It's
20?
30. I think it's like, God, I
20,
want to say it
30
was
minutes, something like that.
32 or 33 minutes, maybe.
Right around that half
So,
hour effort. Yeah.
Yeah, I averaged like 315 or 320 watts for that time, and then ended up taking the KOM back by just over 2 minutes. So,
Too bad. Yeah.
But
yeah,
a little
big
harder
margin.
but a little bit harder to snag that one.
Yes.
Evan,
Yeah.
you could do it though. TT up.
I need a TT up here soon.
Yep.
less talking, more
Time-
doing.
I know, seriously. Time to actually get the bike together. You're right. Enough talking
Yeah.
about that. It's time to actually do it.
Yeah, I only rode on the trainer once this week, which was
Wow, that's
nice.
That's good.
And then Lance and I went out and played bikes yesterday. So still super busy with work, but I managed to get in 10.5 hours. So
nice
Yes.
work.
You've been
job.
floating right around that 10-hour mark for a while now.
with the exception of last week was only 8.5 hours, but it's been about 2.5 months of consistently getting that 10-hour, hitting that 10-hour mark. And I'm feeling it. It's feeling good, but my shoulder sucks. So, but I'm not going to talk about that because I'm tired of talking about it. I'm sure
What
people
about
are tired.
surgery update? Do you want to talk about anything like that, or just don't want to talk
I'm
about
still kind of in a holding pattern. I'm trying to figure out when I'm going to have that.
Yeah.
The summer is, pretty much here, and we've got
Yeah.
trips and things planned and whatnot. And I'm just trying to figure out where the most ideal place to put that is, and I'm coming to find that there is no ideal place. So, the family camping trips are most important to me. If I have to miss a cyclocross season, then so be it. I'd rather go do the family stuff.
I don't think you'll be missing anything.
Well, we'll see. So neither here nor there.
it. You might not be doing cyclocross,
Yeah.
running around, and you might fall down. I don't know.
Yeah.
There's a lot of running in cyclocross.
The only other thing I have to say in my
Run.
back pedal,
Run.
Lance and I are going to be teasing you guys all with some e-bikes here pretty soon. I'll get into more about that later.
Are you guys going to
Yes.
come for a ride with us, but you'll be on e-bikes and we'll be on our TT bikes?
You know what?
Possibility.
There might be a possibility of all four of us here at the table. We're going to go out and do an e-bike ride.
Okay.
Oh, I'm
Sounds
all
fun.
for this.
Stay tuned.
I want to be able to go 40 miles an hour, putting out 150 watts, please. That sounds great.
Yeah. Patreon update. Patreon. Our Patreons have been actively doing cool stuff. We have our little spotlight that we're going to do this week on the Wick family. The Wick family are one of our Patreons. They did a really cool little family ride this past Friday. They went out and did 15 miles with the whole fam damly.
That's
The whole
cool.
family and some extra people, I
I
think.
think maybe it was
They had one of Maddie's friends on the ride with him, I believe.
good.
too.
was it?
Yep.
Maybe like was her grandfather in there too?
Maybe. I'd have to look.
I can't remember his.
That's a real whole family ride.
But yeah, he's super cool as well. I remember the
yeah,
first time.
Misty, Anthony, Connor, and Tracy were all on the ride.
Yeah, I'm sure Austin was probably out there too. But
Yeah.
the Wick family was out there doing good family stuff, and I love seeing that. So that's a talented family.
Oh, I know.
That's a very cool family.
Very talented family. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And thank you, Wick family, for being Patreons
Yes.
for the podcast.
Yeah,
we
absolutely.
really appreciate it.
And if you or anybody you know or anybody is interested in becoming a patron, you can go to our website, dialpodcast.com, and you'll see it pop up right there on the old homepage. You can click on that. It'll take you through. And if you want to take a look and see what some of the different options are, it's all laid out there for you. So just go check it out. So thank you to all of our Patreons. Hey, Champ, you here?
Champ
Bailey.
Champ Bailey here.
Oh, there he is.
I can't believe Champ's not out of a job yet. This is we've got how many weeks without
got
bike
some
racing
news.
do we have?
I have very little news. I have two things
Champ,
to
you
talk
never
about.
have any news.
I know. First thing, the women's Eversing record was broken again
Wow,
this week.
that's cool.
This time it was crushed by almost an hour.
What does that bring it down to?
I think
9 something?
Yeah.
Yeah,
so
I
it's
just saw that this bar may hold for a bit. It was
Hannah Rhodes, an English writer. She was writing in the Lake District in England, and she brought the record down to 9:08. 9 hours and 8 minutes. It was 9:57. She took almost 50 minutes off.
I didn't even know it was under 10. I thought it was 10:30 or 10:20. I don't remember.
Yeah, Katie Hall
That's
had
good.
taken it under 10.
Way to go.
So,
Ouch.
smoking time. That's
in other
fast.
nudes,
Nudes?
in other nudes, this is Lance No
Lance
Pants.
No Pants. Right?
Is it? No, never
Oh,
mind.
wait.
No, I'm not even gonna
Should
hold
we
on now.
explore this a little bit?
Well,
This is supposed to be Champ Bailey's hour. Not Lance,
Champ
yeah,
Bailey,
not
sorry.
Lance No Pants hour.
not Lance No Pants.
If you did listen to the podcast last week, you got to hear me and Evan argue about the ridiculousness of Lance Armstrong and
Oh, yeah.
whether he's relevant or not.
So
and most of
relevant.
our dumb listeners took Evan's side, and some of our smart listeners took my side.
Do you hear what he's saying about you folks here? That's a personal attack.
So, from a listener, I got a top 5 list. Ryan Lee says,
No. This.
I love the top 5 lists. I love his list. They're always good.
Ryan Lee's top 5 lists. Why Tiger Woods is more relevant than Lance Armstrong.
Preach,
God.
Ryan. Preach.
Number 5.
Yeah.
If Tiger approached golf the same way as Lance, he would only play and win the U.S. Open.
That's actually a very fair point.
Number
That's a fair
4.
point.
Oh,
Yeah.
they're all good points.
Oh, good. Yeah. Thank you,
Number
Ryan.
4. Tiger will go down in history as the most dominant golfer of his era. Lance will go down in history as the most dominant cheater of his era. Number 3.
Yeah.
When Tiger loses a ball, he usually finds it.
Ouch.
First of all, that's creative. That's pretty creative.
I'm gonna not touch that one.
Number 2. Tiger only cheated on his wife, but not on the tour.
Oh, also not gonna touch that one. Oh.
And number 1, Tiger Woods has won just as many Tour de France's as Lance has.
This is why I almost wanted to call that one. I thought that one was gonna come up.
Tiger Woods is more relevant than
Okay.
Good one.
Lance Armstrong.
Yeah.
Well done.
Thank
Well
you,
done,
Ryan.
Thank you, Ryan.
He's good
Thank
at
you.
this.
And Champ Bailey out.
Do I have to say thank you, Ryan, after that?
Oh, that's good. All right, let's jump into our topic for today and introduce our special guest. First of all, the topic is we're going to discuss the barrier of entry into endurance sports for the African American community, and we thought that we should bring in our good friend, the one and only Klyph Stanford. How you doing, Klyph?
I'm good, man. I'm psyched to be here amongst all of you like elite athletes.
Thanks.
Also, this is not like we didn't have to ship Klyph in to like come into the podcast. He actually works here also in this clinic. So this is somebody I've worked with basically every day for the last, 3 years, I think now. This trip is long overdue.
Klyph, you've got like this crazy laundry list of things that you do. You've got so many cool things about you. You're a physical therapy assistant, so you're in here working on PT-related stuff with Evan. But outside of that, you've got this really like diverse, cool. How do you make? You just made this whole room so much cooler.
Yeah, that's for
I know,
sure.
seriously.
I'll bring it down.
You made it.
Cliff brings it up.
Lance's mustache will bring that nice and down.
Made
But
it
yeah,
look
levels out.
lazy is what you did too. You got like 18 jobs, and I'm
Yeah.
like,
I'm unemployed.
So
ride a bike.
I don't even want to say you moonlight. You are a hip hop DJ in the city of Portland.
Yes.
You are a podcaster.
Yes.
You are a former recording artist.
Yes.
And you're an aspiring endurance athlete. This is all freaking cool stuff, man.
Thank you.
Wait, and you went to school where?
I went to PT school or PT assistant school at Mount Hood in Oregon.
Nice.
And you're still involved with that program, correct?
Yeah. So I work with the board, the PT assistant board there, and I'm a certified clinical instructor. So I have an opportunity to work with students who are going through their in-clinic training. So try to continue to give back as best I can, you know.
Yes. And he's also educated me on basically everything I know outside of physical therapy as well in this region since I first got here. When literally I moved here and knew I think Klyph was probably one of the first people I actually got close to, along with then Jake, when Jake decided to work on my bike in his garage one day. So, yeah.
Yeah. So, man, I think this show could potentially be like 3 or 4 hours long if I sat here and asked all of the questions that I wanted to ask of Klyph.
Well, we should point out to the listeners that Klyph is African American. We didn't want to talk about African American issues for idiot white guys.
Exactly.
So we are super happy to have Klyph here to be able to bring those.
It's crazy though. So I'm gonna give y'all like my perspective. You know what I'm saying? I don't speak for the entire African American community, but I'm thrilled and honored that you folk would consider reaching out. And I think that off top, I think that that's cool. Having conversations is how we make changes. Yeah. And so I appreciate the opportunity to be here.
Yeah.
I mean,
And
awesome.
And I think Klyph too, just for people who are listening to this, like, who's Klyph Stanford? Really, in my opinion, he will never admit this to himself, and everybody who knows him through Proactive would definitely describe Klyph as a leader, I think, in not only the Portland hip hop community, but also in really this area's physical therapy community as well. I mean, you've been, a clinic director in your past too through Proactive in Oregon and in Washington. So in this close-knit kind of Portland, Vancouver community, Klyph's very well known in that sense.
Cool.
Thank you, Evan.
Yeah. I'll toot your horn because I know you're not going to. So.
Before we start talking about endurance sports stuff, tell me a little bit more about the DJ stuff and the podcasting that you're doing.
Oh man, I've been an FM radio DJ. I just celebrated 10 years last year doing that, and it comes from a desire to provide a platform and support for the local hip hop community. When I was an artist, that was one of the things that you always wanted was, how do I get on? How can I get my records on the radio? Yeah. And an opportunity came actually through physical therapy, working with a patient who was doing a community television show, and just having conversations with him, and started doing some work with that. And then, like I said, got on FM radio. So my show now is on X-Ray FM, which is a community-supported radio station. And I've been, again, just supporting the local primarily hip-hop, but funk, soul, R&B community through that. And then that's kind of led into me doing hosting shows, local live shows, providing platforms, live performance platforms for artists. That led into podcasting, and then I came up with Cliff Notes, which is an opportunity to do long form interviews for artists.
That's awesome.
And
that's a great name.
Yeah, man. Every week,
your live performance was Mic Check, correct?
Yeah. So the live performance is it's a bi-monthly. Well, when COVID-19 is over, it's a bi-monthly hip hop showcase, and it's at McMenamin's White Eagle. Shout out to McMenamin's for providing a platform, and man, it's a really cool night. DJ OG1 and Trox are my DJs.
Wait, OG1, is that the Blazer guy?
Yep.
What? I do not know why I remembered that.
I was going to wonder if Lance knew that. That's awesome, Lance.
Yeah, man.
That's cool.
He's the Trailblazers DJ. So
that's such an awesome night. Look, I had the honor of getting to go to one of those, and it was an absolute blast. That was so much fun.
Thank you,
that's
man.
Cool.
There was some serious talent there that night too.
Hey, man.
I'm sure that's each weekend, but that night had a lot of talent.
Got some really, really good talent when it comes to hip hop community.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Recording artist.
Yeah, it's funny because like if anybody who knows me, like the DJ stuff that I do, like a lot of the hip hop community, very, very few people know that I ever recorded. But when before I moved up here, when I lived in Louisiana, again I was an aspiring artist, and so recorded a project with my cousin. That's available, not under DJ Klyph. I will not tell you.
Come on.
If you find it, get it. And then also,
I may be attaching that to this video.
I've got a good way of sniffing that kind of stuff out. So.
And then also produce, and so I produced a project which is a cool story. I'll have to tell you guys one day how it came about, but it's just a beat tape that I created several years ago.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Now, I think it's cool to tell, like, what brought you from Louisiana all the way up here? Because I know we've talked about, I was born in the Southeast as well, and it seems like an incredibly long way away from the Pacific Northwest. So what brought you up here?
I moved to Louisiana. My family moved to Louisiana when I was 13 years old, from the Northeast, from New Jersey, and all my mother's family is from Louisiana. My dad's family is from Alabama, but moving to
you and I have a lot in common.
For real?
Matt's from Alabama.
I was born in New Orleans, and I grew up in Alabama.
That's crazy, yo.
Yep.
6 degrees, man.
Yep.
But when I moved to Louisiana from New Jersey, it was a culture shock.
Oh my
man.
gosh,
it was a huge culture shock, and I lived in a very small town where I was exposed to some things that I'd only seen on television or heard about through my parents, and stuff I just really wasn't very comfortable with.
What age did you say you were?
13.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So a very impressionable age.
Oh yeah,
yeah. Very aware of what was going on too at that age. Yeah,
100%. So though I loved being around my family, I was not real keen on living there. So when I graduated from high school, you either go to the military, you go to work, or you go to school. And I reached out to a couple of colleges, and Walla Walla College in Walla Walla, Washington, said, "Man, we'd love to have you come up here, this, that, and the third." I'd never been to the West Coast, let alone the Northwest.
Yeah. Talk about a long trip.
Bruh.
And this was not when you could just look it up on your iPhone and be like, that looks like a cool college.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But again, a bit of a culture shock, because then I went from a place where culturally I was in the majority to a place where I was in the minority.
Yeah.
So that was it was an interesting time. But as an older adolescent adult, it was a good time for me to have that experience. And then I met the person who's the love of my life in college, and settled here in the Northwest.
Nice.
And just celebrated 26 years.
Coming up on 26 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right after Lance, this was your 26.
Last week was our 26-year anniversary.
26 is a special number.
Man, these women are putting up with a lot of.
Truth be told, man, shout out to my wife, man. You see all the stuff that I do, and she supports it all. So I'm very, very grateful, very blessed.
Yeah.
Awesome. Let us go ahead and kind of change gears and talk a little bit more about the topic for the day. Evan, I'm going to let you start. You've got some questions. Why don't you go ahead and hit Klyph with your first one?
Yeah. So, Klyph, I think, and just for background here, Klyph and I have had many conversations about this topic even before recent events has come around. So I think this type of topic is long overdue, and I'm glad it can be talked about now. So give me first your background as to like when you decided like, hey, I want to get into endurance sports and start running, because I know we've talked about that quite a bit, but it was your first half marathon was the rock and roll half marathon, correct?
Actually, my first half was the Portland half.
Yeah. Okay, gotcha. Yeah.
Growing up, I played a ton of sports, pickup basketball, church league basketball. I played tennis in high school, and running was a part of that. Like if I'm a run, I'm either running from somebody, or I'm playing a sport.
Yeah,
you know what I
you're
mean?
running towards the ball.
Yeah, exactly. And the whole idea, the concept of like watching a marathon on television or the Olympics, like distance, and I was like, why would you do that to yourself? It doesn't make any sense to me.
I continue to ask that question.
Exactly. That's a question that doesn't go away. Yeah,
right?
yeah.
100%.
It's the question that keeps on asking.
But about 5 years ago, I was taking a course, and we had an assignment to create some sort of a lifestyle change, like decide I want to cook at home more, or I want to do something to enhance my lifestyle. And so at that point I said, I've never run any sort of distance. That would be a really cool thing to do. And so I set a goal to complete the Shamrock Run 5K and started training for it. So I got the Couch to 5K app.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know how to run distance. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I did that, completed that, and finished the Shamrock 5K, and hated every minute of it. I'm still going to get a T-shirt.
Was that a hilly course at that time? Because I have not raced that before. Matt,
5K isn't really hilly.
It's not. It's not really hilly. Not really. Yeah. I mean, for me, it was.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm
exactly.
saying?
Yeah.
But crossing the finish line, I experienced something that I hadn't experienced in terms of competition in many years. Sort of this sense of.
Did it feel nostalgic at all, like this, or is it totally different?
It was different. It was just a sense of accomplishment that I don't think I expected.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's really hard to put into words, but at the end of runs, you have all these people out there with these little cards. Hey, we've got this next event coming up.
Yeah.
And I grabbed one, and at the moment didn't think about it, kind of put it in my bag. But the next day or two after I kind of reflected on the experience, I thought, man, that was kind of cool. I want to. And that was the rock and roll 10K that was in Portland.
10K, yep.
So I did that, or maybe before that I did the Race for the Roses 5K, and then I did the rock and roll 10K, and then I said, why don't I try to do a half marathon?
This is what always happens when people are like, 5K is probably fine. No, I'm good at the 5K.
Right?
Okay, 10K. I mean, there's a race of that. Then you're doing a half marathon. Then you're doing a full marathon. Then you're doing
That's how it goes.
Yeah, man. So as a result of that, I did the Portland half marathon, and then I did the rock and roll half marathon in Seattle. And then I did the rock and roll half marathon in Vancouver, BC.
Oh wow!
And
is that Seattle rock and roll still around?
Yeah.
Is that still there? Okay, gotcha.
As far as I know,
because you really like rock and roll as a race group. Right?
I do.
Yeah,
you like the series? That's good.
For me, I feel like I have found that I have to have something that's driving me. I've got to have these goals, and one of them for me was, all right, how many finisher medals can I get?
Yeah.
And rock and roll has really created this, I think, a really cool situation where if you do a certain number of races, you get additional medals. I get it.
Cool.
They're making money, but it worked for me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It was motivating.
100%.
Yeah, you bet.
Yeah,
we've had that argument on here before,
Right.
and I think we came to the agreement. I think it motivates beginners, which is good. It's just, it's cooler what rock and roll does there instead of having this massive collection of finisher medals like what, Matt, you've given away quite a few, haven't you, at this point?
Yeah, but, I think it comes from a different perspective on racing and the medals and things like that, just because I grew up doing it, it was just a very different thing. And I think right now a lot of the races are really using medals as a competitive way to attract participants.
Of course.
Yeah.
And man, they've done some cool stuff. Like one of the local racing companies here has like this set of races in the summer, and it's like 5 medals, and you can line them up next to each other and they all end up like matching.
Wait,
I'm like,
seriously?
that is cool, right?
That's pretty cool.
So that's the Wide Racing Company.
That's I didn't know why he's doing that. That's a really cool idea.
They have 5 or 6 triathlons. If you put the medals all together, they tell a whole story. Like the mountains connect in the background. It's really cool. Yeah. So I just think it's like, that is another way to bring someone to be like, no, I'm not just going to do one. I'm going to do this. And for the race directors, they're making money, but but it's cool.
Moving.
It's also, it's a healthy habit. We talk about this all the time. Like, how do we motivate people? How do we create these healthy habits? There's a little bit of an addiction there to it, but hey, it's a healthy addiction.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So Klyph, going, and even just so everybody knows, Klyph has now recently gotten back into kind of your more focused run training compared to what you were doing last year, from what I saw.
Yeah, once I one of the questions that I had for you, or one of the statements that I made to you, is that I realized that I actually need to learn how to run, which was silly to even think that, and silly to hear myself say it. But I realized that just like I needed to use the Couch to 5K to understand how to run that consistently. At some point, I need to learn, what do I need to do so that I can complete a long distance run and run the entire distance, or avoid injury. Now I know how to do that from a rehabilitation standpoint in terms of getting someone back to health. But in terms of being a healthy body and just working on pushing myself, not just the mental piece, but physically, how do I allow myself to do that and do that continuously?
It's like, how do you build training blocks to build that? Yeah, exactly.
And it's a journey that I'm on, man. I'm still seeking. I try to read. I look for blogs, or better yet, like I mentioned, find people who are very skilled in that, who have the experience way beyond what I have, and ask, how do I build into that, just so that I can continue to do this for.
And that's a
long-term.
good segue,
Yeah.
I think, too, Klyph, into give us some history on fitness as a habit and how you've built that platform too.
So that was the other thing I forgot to say. So fitness is a habit.
That was
wait,
I'm looking at his thing right here, and I I was about to
got another
interject
job?
that too, but yeah, he does
Another
another
job?
job.
Instagrammer as well. Yeah.
So
Yeah, he's an influencer as well. Yeah.
going through this process, I realized that what was important to me was to look at things holistically. I want to focus on being in the best condition that I can be physically, but it's also important to me to have that same energy, put that same energy into my mental fitness and also my spiritual fitness. Mm-hmm. And so as I'm looking at how can I be consistent with doing that? Because I found whether it's going to the gym or whatever, it's really easy to start something and then fall off. And it's to develop that habit.
Right.
And what I just described to me, that's what I described that I did, that's what I found I was doing, was I was just developing that habit. In order to be able to do that 5K every day, I had to get out there and do it. And I realized that it's a great opportunity not only for me to be to hold myself accountable by putting it out there that, hey, this is what I'm doing, but hopefully also be motivating to someone else. And so I came up with this idea of starting a company that's called Fitness is a Habit, a place that I could share my story, hopefully be motivating, hopefully answer questions or just connect people. And so Fitness is a Habit it's a blog. It's also a podcast. And it's really just my journey, again, into being whole, just trying to be the best that I can in every aspect of what I do.
Where can people find it? As I'm Googling right now.
Fitnessisahabit.com.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's a good domain.
Yes.
Yeah, you know.
Also, the Instagram page. I found the Instagram page.
Did you? Yeah, Instagram.
It's probably the first time in my life I've actually
Twitter.
found something through primarily Instagram.
So it's something that I'm still building.
Cool.
I mentioned my wife is cool. There's a episode of the podcast where my wife and I talked about our relationship and you know, and how we support one another through our goals. And quick story.
Go.
Like I mentioned, I did the Vancouver Rock and Roll BC half marathon, and I've never been to Vancouver. I've never been outside the United States.
Yeah.
Although I know. Anyway, so but my wife is not at all interested in running, like not even a little bit. So I said, well, come with me. We'll do the 10K. I'll walk the 10K with you, and then I'll do the next day. I'll do the half marathon.
That's cool.
That sounds
So-
like a good idea.
No, but so we had done it. This is my third half, and she was feeling bad for me. She said, "You're gonna walk the 10K. You're not gonna be able to actually PR it." For me, it was a PR of the half marathon. She got to the finish line. She was waiting on me. I had already finished when got my medals, and she's still waiting for me to finish. But the point of the story is it was a great opportunity to share in this journey with my wife.
Yeah.
For her to be a part of that.
Yes.
And those are the stories that I want to be able to share with folk.
And I think that's my favorite thing about this platform for you, Klyph, is that when the four of us sit here and talk about how do we empower beginners to get into this sport, and specifically the African American community, it has got to be people that can relate to them, that help people feel comfortable to get into the sport. Because it's just like with new cyclists, whenever we talk about it, it's terrifying to go on a group ride with people that are a lot faster than you.
Yeah.
Right.
That's a scary experience. It's tough to, running is a great example as a sport too, and Matt knows this more than anything. Running is a hard sport to just jump in with a group if they're going to be significantly faster than you, or if you don't relate to a single person in that group. So your platform, I think, does a great job at taking that and taking away just the focus on running away from it and saying, your relationship with your significant other is important with this. Your mental health is important with this, and just looking at it from a 360-degree view.
Yeah, and it's interesting that you say that, because that was one of the things that has been and does continue to be a bit of a barrier even for me. When I listen to the podcast and listen to you guys talk about the things that you do, it's intimidating, man. You know, the idea of, oh yeah, we're gonna go and ride for 50 miles and whatever.
Yeah.
Like, really?
Oh yeah,
Really? That's what y'all are doing?
We get that.
I've even had to bring that down and Klyph's seen me kind of grow as a physical therapist and how I talk to people too. I mean, you've seen me from a very young physical therapist to now still a young physical therapist, but see, I've had to even, and I actually have a patient I've actually referenced to your platform just because I love her and she's awesome, but this person I think is somebody your platform can speak to a lot better than them asking me, I was like, well, what'd you do this week? And if I tell them exactly what I did training-wise this week, it's not something that they can relate to in that way.
Evan, none of us sitting at this table can relate to that.
but I'm saying I realize how when we're having this conversation about how do we make these sports more diverse, how do we support the African American community, it's empowering the people that are African American in these communities to have a bigger, stronger voice and not just us sit here and be like, well, how does a beginner start again? Well, I started when I was 6.
Right.
And you're like, you're trying to think back to that time.
I can't relate to that.
Honestly, I think you're hitting the nail on the head here. It's not a matter of putting up an advertisement. It's not about sitting around talking at a podcast. It's not about any kind of way of disseminating information through social media. It's going out there, shaking a hand, and taking the time to help bridge the gap for that person and help create an understanding and an appreciation for the sport.
Exactly.
You guys probably all saw the video that Phil Guyman put out this past week, talking about how we're in kind of like a renaissance for the cycling world. There are so many people that are brand new to cycling, that are cycling for the first time, or just maybe picking it up for the first time since they were a kid. I mean, the whole cycling industry blew up, and I've said this a million times this past week. Bikes are the new toilet paper, folks. You cannot find seriously, no joke. If a bike is like $1,500 or less, everybody's sold out.
Yeah.
Everybody. All the dealers, all the bike shops, everybody's sold out. And there's a bazillion people out there. And Phil Guyman's basic takeaway from this, or his point to the people listening to or watching his little video, was, hey, cyclists, and he jokingly tells everybody, like, if you're new, all right, you're done. You can turn off the video and go. And he's like, all right, everybody else is still watching this, all my other fellow cyclists, don't screw this up. You have such an opportunity here right now.
Don't be a jerk. Be inclusive. Help other people. Yes.
So if I need to pump the brakes on a 4-hour ride or a 50-mile ride or something like that, just to go do like a 5 to 10 mile flat jaunt with some people, and that's going to get them hooked on cycling, I want to do that. And we started playing with that last year when we started doing our Fog Hat Friday rides.
That was a good.
And I think that brought some people to the cycling community here in our area, got them kind of acclimated to what it was like to go out and ride with a group, and taught them some stuff. And there
people that never would have ridden in a group or been too intimidated to ride in a group, knowing we're going to go easy. It is going to be short. So come be a part of this.
Yeah, and we did that for the summer, and that was great. But I think we need to do more of that. And what I need to know from Klyph is, like, how can we connect with the African American community?
That's a great question, man. And it's challenging, yet at the same time not so challenging. I'm really blessed. I mentioned DJ OG1. I'm connected with individuals like him and other folk in the area who have access to a lot of the youth through school programs, through summer programs, that I think would love to just learn more or take advantage of this. I think one of the challenges is just access. Just having access to folk like yourself.
I was going to say define access. So it's just access to people.
That's the first thing. Because it is, from my perception, I look at something like golf. And I'm old enough to remember when golf was something that, yes, I'd watch on television, but for the most part, the people that I see on television, they don't look like me. And so as a result, there's also a bit of the thought process of, that's not for me. Now, we know specifically that there are still places where it's not for me. There's still places that people like me can't go. But once we saw Tiger Woods on television be very successful,
it's huge.
He looks like me. That actually gave me permission to now go out and play golf.
I like that.
When I first time I played golf, I'd moved here and I was working with some guys like, you should come on and play golf with us. I literally said to them, I don't know, like, is it really cool for me to play golf? That was my mindset. That was my understanding.
That was your instinctual mindset to think.
100%. So I think the more people that we see doing these things that we're talking about in endurance athletes, it gives us permission to know, yes, it's okay, which is a first step. But the second step is what you're talking about. How do I do that? How do I get access to a bicycle? What is a group ride? These are simple, basic questions that a lot of times we don't necessarily think about because it's what we do all the time, right? But for a lot of us, it's not that simple. It's not that.
So for me, I think it really, I mean, we can go out and communicate, and we can connect with people who will just say that are our age, but I think it's more about the future generations. I think it's really important that we work on planting seeds there.
Yes.
And for us, I mean, we're already doing this kind of stuff. And if it's something that, like, if we can go plant a bunch of seeds in the African American community by giving bikes to kids and giving our time to kids and creating opportunity for them to go ride and race and to learn about all that stuff, how do we go about doing that? What are best practices there?
Well, I think one of the things that I could suggest is find a program that already exists that people are tied into. So with the work that I do with the Portland hip hop community, DJ OG1 and our friend Starchild, rest in peace, started an event called Portland Hip Hop Day. And the cool thing about it was the city of Portland got behind it. They actually proclamated that now it's August 26th is Portland Hip Hop Day. Last year, it actually got extended to Portland Hip Hop Week. So it's a week of events centered around hip hop. So there are performances and education about hip hop. But last year was the second year, I think, that a friend of mine named Mighty, who's a Portland hip hop artist, connected with Nike and Microsoft and did an event where they just gave away shoes to kids.
Wow.
And the event that you're talking about in terms of having access to kids around bikes potentially, something like that I think would be a really cool thing to do and something I could absolutely help with.
Yeah, that would be. And
okay. Well, here's the thing. So you've probably heard of our Bikes for Kids campaign that we run. So we pretty much had to press pause on that. We're working with the Salvation Army, who is based out of Gresham, and they are connecting us with kids in the greater Portland area. I'm sure that we could still do something through them, but the kids, that's what's most important. It's not what entity it's found. So if you've got an entity, then we can kind of connect all these things together. We had to press pause on everything because of COVID. Right. So we've got a pretty sizable amount of money, and that's going to equate to quite a few really nice bikes and helmets and bike locks for kids. And we've already got a team of people that want to go after we've finished building all these bikes, make sure these things are spit shined and polished. They can go out there and have a workshop with these kids to teach them everything about their bike, bicycle safety, how to ride. And God, if we could even connect something with the Portland International Raceway to have like a closed course track for these kids to go race their bike around the track.
That'd
be cool.
That would give them a taste of that whole like bicycle racing. If nothing else, it's just fun to ride on that track. I mean, it's just a 1.9 mile butter smooth little flat track and just go flying around it. And there's a fun little info place where you can go ride to. Man, we should connect these dots.
Yeah,
I think that we can transition a little bit here, and we can kind of like maybe lead it down that path.
How many bikes did we give away last year? Like 15 or 20?
It was 20 when it was all said.
And then this year will be more for sure because
we raise more money.
And we have, I think, a better deal potentially. So
and I would love to also the Everest attempt that we're doing at the end of June. I would love to attach the funding directly to that so that can get more attention as much as possible. And
it's not about us, it's about the kids.
Yeah.
And that's ultimately, and if we can plant seeds in that community, my God, that would put a big giant smile on my face.
Yeah. Let's do it, man. Let's do it. Absolutely. I mean,
you heard it here.
There we go.
On the dial
somebody hold us accountable for that because we
it's not realistically, you think probably late summer or fall before that comes together.
You remember that thing I just told you about how nobody has
19,
bikes? And nobody has kids bikes either.
Kids bikes right now.
Crazy.
I get probably 4 or 5 phone calls every week about somebody looking for a specific kid's bike. I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry. There's nothing I can do to help you out here. All the different manufacturers are out. So when those bikes come back in stock is when we'll start the process of ordering our bikes. And there's a fun little part about it too. Like ideally, if we can connect with a group who's got kids already in place, and then we can let the kids kind of define what kind of bike that they would like and what colors are kind of their favorites and what kind of a helmet they would like to go with it. Like we can't make 100% promise, but we can generally get pretty darn close to that.
Yeah.
I'd love to be able to get them the bike and the helmet and the lock that they like so that they can get set up and get the right size bike for them as well. So
maybe if we reach out to those bike companies too, that could maybe expedite the process a little bit more.
We still have to have the
I know.
They
There's
just
still
have
got to
to
be the materials and bikes.
Have
Still got to be available.
It's pretty amazing. It's crazy how busy stuff is right now with bikes.
We'll be talking about this
more.
But
I'm excited.
Going back to your question, I was like, how do we connect with that community? And you think you've got some means to an end. So
absolutely.
Let's say somebody's listening to this podcast somewhere else in the country. What would you suggest to them if they wanted to try and let's say like a team, like I don't know, is looking to do something to reach out or get more kids involved with, bike racing. We're going to talk about bike racing because I don't run.
I'm going to quickly switch it back to running.
If you haven't seen the table is split here between, we got a diagonal line between runners and people who hate running here. So there's Klyph is sitting on the right side of the table for anybody wondering.
Because Klyph and I haven't worked together long enough yet. I will convert you.
I know. Look, talk about planting seeds. Yes,
I know.
Yes,
I know. Klyph's like, man, this running
seeds.
thing hurts, but I'll tell you what, riding a bicycle is
Biking is a
pretty
little
fun.
It's pretty buttery. Yeah. But so like they're in a different community. How would you suggest they don't have a Klyph? Who do they seek out?
It's a great question, man. I think it's a great question. I don't know that I have a really solid answer to.
Sure.
Because there are I think so many groups of individuals who said, hey, we're just going to we don't know who to reach out to, so we're just going to do it on our own, and we're just going to start it up.
Yeah.
And then you find these groups will find one another, and they connect the dots, and they grow bigger. I guess my thought would be, if I were in that situation, I would start by just going to your local bike shop and say, this is who I am, this is what I'm interested in doing, and see if they can help you connect those dots. I think if you're listening to this, man, reach out to me, because now I have a community of people that I can reach out to.
Absolutely.
And
Klyph
ask
can
for,
literally, if you hit up Klyph, he could yell across the clinic at me. That's how quick the connection could be. Yeah.
100%, man.
Yeah, you could throw something at me.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a part of, for me, that's a part of fitness is a habit. Like I said, it's also growing my, not just my physical health and my spiritual health, but also my mental health. And for me, that means learning. That means gaining knowledge. That means really trying to figure out how to answer that question that you just asked me and put that in my database, so that when that email does come through, or when that call does come,
that we have that network already in place. Yeah. Absolutely.
Gotcha. Lance, do you have any questions for Klyph?
Well, my questions kind of revolve around a little bit more around race.
Yeah.
And what kind of barriers you have seen being an African American getting into running, or into endurance sports at all, or if you've felt heat or pressure or oppression from being an African American in endurance sports. Have you had experiences with that?
I haven't yet, and I think a part of it is because of my avenue into the endurance sports. Okay. So for me, it was so focused on myself and doing it myself. I know oftentimes people, I think I heard you guys even mention it on the last episode of the podcast of, find a running group, find people to run with. And that wasn't the approach that I took. So for me, it was really, because I was doing it solo, I didn't necessarily see that. And then when I sign up for a race, I put my headphones on and it's just me.
Yeah, right.
But I think in life, I would imagine that endurance sports is no different than anything else in life. And sort of what I mentioned about golf, I think a lot of the obstacles are not necessarily feeling like you have permission to do that.
Well, let me ask you this. In running, there's way more African Americans in running than there is in cycling.
Yeah.
Do you, what keeps you from cycling?
If I'm gonna keep it 100, bro. Like one of the things is just like, I can get a pair of shoes and go run.
Yeah.
Correct. Okay. Yeah.
I'm not a wealthy man.
Right.
And so for me, if I think I want to participate in cycling, well, what does it take? And then I'm looking at,
you got to drop
what
money
bike
for a
do
helmet.
you
You got to drop money for a bike.
Exactly.
There's so much. It's a much harder sport, I think, to get into.
Absolutely.
More barriers to entry.
Way more barriers.
Did a really cool video on what it costs just to get into triathlon.
Oh yeah,
triathlon.
Stupid.
It was ridiculous.
Right? It was like minimum of $1,000 to get even started with like the bare minimum stuff of what you would want.
Yeah,
it was crazy.
So for the not to cut you off, but for the most part, in answer to your question, something like that, it's if we look at the disparity in access to the means to get into a sport like that. Typically, you're not going to see that in the African American community like you will in other communities.
That makes
sense. I had a friend of mine compare it to skiing in America too. He was just listing off sports where it's like there's just not an African American presence in certain sports, and cycling making very high on that list. Skiing's up there. It's just I think the price tag attached to it definitely has to do that. But I really like your story when you're talking about like Tiger Woods and golf. I really think that is also a big issue is I think that's why it's cool. And Lance, correct me if I'm wrong because you're on the numbers here, but Justin and Corey Williams' team Legion, I think has potential to be that team that then maybe gives that younger African American population that Tiger Woods to look at. And that's now Justin and Corey are awesome, but they don't have quite the international stage that Tiger Woods had. But I don't think cycling has the same international stage as Tiger Woods.
Do you know who Justin and Corey Williams are?
I do not.
They're really our only
right? But
really
African American professional
Superstars,
cyclists in
America,
superstars in America.
But they're not
right
such
now.
a superstar level that everyone knows who they are, right?
No.
Like unless you
have to be in the cycling community to know who they are. Yeah.
They're not on pro world teams. They're
not Tiger Woods status.
No, actually Justin started his own team and brought he's got two brothers that both race, and he brought both his brothers on the race, and now they've got a team of 8 or 9 world-class cyclists that are focusing on criterium racing. So,
which is shorter distance
shorter
racing.
distance,
shorter distance races,
faster.
They're very good at that style
very,
of racing.
Very good.
They're
Best
very
team
good
in the
at it.
nation. They could probably beat any world team in a crit type race. Interestingly enough, just yesterday they announced that his team's called Legion of Los Angeles. They just raised
based out of LA.
$50,000 to help with to boost diversity in cycling specifically.
I just put that. If anybody is hearing this and wants to look at that, I just put that up on my Facebook. That link. So go and look for that because they are already well over their goal already.
They're trying to support juniors, like we talked about. Trying to develop development camps for juniors. And hopefully specifically for African American community, so that
especially in Southern California, which I think they're creating a culture in that Southern California community right now, which is already a great cycling racing community already. Yeah.
That's really cool.
It's pretty cool. That they're trying to do that.
Well, I mean, and for me, it's cool to know that because then what I would like to do now is to take that and then put that forth to my audiences, whether it be through Fitness is a Habit or through some of the things that we talked about with the local music scene that I'm a part of. Because a lot of folk are, I think I've learned on my journey of just with running, there are a lot of people who are out there kind of doing their thing. And we've talked about, building some sort of a running club. It would be cool to do the same thing with that community with cycling or other endurance sports.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think that's, not to always bring this back to triathlon, but I think that's triathlon's kind of up next with we need a movement in the African American community supported by the powers that be in triathlon. And I've seen a lot of lip service from USAT and Ironman. I haven't seen anything that's, I've seen at least from a team like Legion based out of like there's action there already. There's already fundraising. They've already laid out a plan. I really haven't seen anything out of that triathlon. So I hope that triathlon kind of goes that direction too. But when you're talking about price tag entry into a sport, man, that's
stupid.
Triathlon's stupid.
It's difficult.
It's dumb.
Yeah. Coming from running to triathlon, I was just distraught. I'm just like, this makes me want to throw up.
How much money you had to spend to get into it.
Well, and then looking back on it and being like, running is the right thing, right? Like running, you can get shoes or you already have shoes or whatever. And you can, I first started running in high tops and wore a hole right through them.
I mean, look at the best runners in the world are from some of the poorest areas in the world. I mean, that's...
Yeah, I mean, I ran with...
You'd not see that in triathlon, I can tell you what. That's
It was, I mean, I ran with probably some of the poorest people I've ever known have been, Kenyan runners that have come over and, you're coming into an environment where snow and ice, like coming in the wintertime, like semesters, right? Not having a jacket, like wearing a singlet with basically a handbag of stuff for you for the next 4 years, like a little handbag, like, and you're just like, and you're not allowed to, like, legally for NCAA rules, you're not allowed to be like, hey, here, take some stuff. What are you going to do? You're going to break the rules and be like, here, take my jacket and take some stuff. I mean, it's snowing outside, right? It's crazy. Yeah. But I think that running, it does have that African dominance. So, but I don't know if you relate to them and think like, oh, I'm going to go run. There's these black runners that are very inspirational. Or or is running just one of those things where it's so much easier just to be like, no, I can go run. I have shoes. I can do this. It doesn't have that Tiger Woods feel to it to me.
Yeah, I don't know, man. And again, I can only speak to my experience. For me, it was, you run because you just out with your friends and you're just out running. And we're going to go to the corner store. Well, we can get there faster if we run than if we walk.
Right.
I mean,
Yep.
so
Yep.
it's just sort of that. Or I want to go to my friend's house who lives in the next neighborhood. So it's easier to get there faster if we run than if we walk. But in terms of doing it as an organized, focused situation, I know that when I was in school, it just wasn't one of the things that was presented to me as something to do. Like coaches came up to me and asked me, hey, you want to play football?
Yeah.
Like no one ever asked me,
hey, do you want to run cross country?
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So if that was not presented to me as an option in my youth, when, you know, at that age or at that level where I am looking to the adults to give me some guidance or even make suggestions, then I'm, you know.
Well, and especially when you were in Louisiana at the time when you were 13, right? Yeah, I mean, that's, you know, and I'd actually like to open this up too for the time we have remaining for you to talk about just the culture in the Southeast, because I know I'm going to make a generalization here, but as Klyph knows, I was born in Florida too, so I do not know the level. I wasn't there old enough to understand Alabama and Louisiana culture as much, but Panhandle, Florida culture was probably not off from what my father has told me stories wise. We're probably talking about a very similar culture here, but there's that I think a little bit easier conversation to have in a city like Portland than maybe in some areas of the Southeast. Now, do you still have family in Louisiana right now?
Yeah, I mean, all my folk are in Louisiana, Alabama, Georgia, Texas.
Yeah. What's the environment like there now? Man, from what you've heard.
Yeah, I haven't been back to Louisiana since before Katrina. It's true that certain conversations are easier to have here, but it's also true that one of the things that I truly appreciate about living in the South or living in a place where inequality is so on the surface is that it's so on the surface. Yeah. So I know that you don't like me because of the color of my skin.
Yeah,
the university, not you, Lance.
He pointed at me.
I know. Yeah, Lance freezes. He's like, what?
But as a result of that, like we know where we stand.
Right.
It's so interesting, man. When I moved to Louisiana, my mom grew up there, and we moved to the town that she grew up in as a child, and she showed me these train tracks, and she said, "Yeah, you know, we lived on this side of the train tracks, and you know, especially after dark, don't get caught on that other side of the train tracks." And I realized that phrase that we use so frequently of, they're from the other side of the tracks. Like, those were the train tracks.
It's like legit.
that was an actual real metaphor. 100%. That metaphor was actually
100%. So yes, I mean, in answer to your question, yeah, there are definitely conversations that are easier to have, but the conversation is great, but you have to be able to follow that up with some sort of action.
Yeah.
And in order to follow that up, you have to have people who are willing to follow up.
Yeah.
And not just say, no, this is just the way that it's always been, and this is how it is, and you do that, and we do this, and you just deal with it.
Yeah.
And so for me, that was a part of my mindset. Now, I'm speaking of myself. There are certain people who say, I understand what you're saying, but I am going to go, and I am going to try out for the cross-country team, or I am going to go on the other side of the tracks. That wasn't my experience with the people in my circle of influence.
Yeah. Yeah. So. And that's it's funny. I know when Matt mentions that too, because I even think back to when I was in high school in Ohio. I remember we had two kids. It was not at my high school, but at another local high school who were Kenyan who played soccer. And I remember one of them in a conversation, because I played him in club soccer before, and he had joked with me talking about when he first came here, his high school coach had just expected him to be on the cross country team.
Yeah, there's like that expectation.
Yeah,
like,
which is
Kenya. You must be fast.
That was, and he was like, I like soccer. He was like, I don't want to distance. Like he hated distance running from Kenya. Hated distance running.
A lot of people don't like running.
Yeah,
I mean,
no, it makes sense. But
like me.
But then exactly. I know. Yeah, I mean, I think anybody would look at Lance's stash and be like, maybe cross country, but I don't know. I don't know.
Maybe in the
cross,
1860s.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's a bit of an outdated style, but yeah, I think that's when we're talking about that. When you were asked that question by a coach, like, want to play football, Klyph? Want to play basketball? That's that same sort of conversation is just, and I hope that we're getting to this point where we allow that child to say, no, I want to try. I think I like running. I want to try cross country, and not directing them in a certain. Yeah.
As a coach at the table, shouldn't every coach be going after every athlete? I mean,
if you're a cross country coach, right?
You come to my high school, I'm gonna say you come run for me. Like, I don't care. Like, Lance, nice mustache. Come run for me.
Yeah.
I mean, you talk to any kid that
This is why Camas cross country is like what 2,000 kids now.
Any middle school kid that comes into contact with me, it's always like, come run for Camas. Better run for Camas. And they'll be like, no, I hate running. I'll be like, yeah, you should give it a try. Come on. It's always kind of that recruitment process because you want as many people as possible.
Oh yeah, yeah. And you've done a darn good job of that. Camas cross country is huge.
It's a big squad for sure. But I do see differences in the South versus being out West. You know, like you said, like literally the train tracks, like that doesn't happen here. Yeah. And when you're in the South, I notice it, and it's kind of tough. It's like, okay, you know, where do you want to go for a run? Well, you want to go for a run down this way and over that way, the river, whatever it is. And, you know, you might be thinking like, well, do I want to go into that neighborhood? So I think in current times, like that's the thing that's most disheartening is people that could potentially like choose not to go for a run because they don't feel safe, right? Like that is to me heartbreaking, right? Where it's like these people are not feeling safe right now. People don't feel safe in the current environment with the current political views going on. People don't feel safe going out for a bike ride or a run or whatever it is. They don't want to cross the tracks. Yeah, that might be slightly different out West here than it would be in the South, but I would love to see us make some progress on that particular issue.
Yeah. When I think, you know, to me, you guys you're doing so much of that with what you're doing right now. Like the simple fact that you've invited me to be on the podcast to talk about this topic. I mean, that's a huge step, right? That's more than, oh, we should do something. No, you're actually doing something. Yeah. There's the statement that you just made of, I don't care where you're from, I want you to come run for me. What you guys are doing, giving away the bikes, doesn't matter. We're doing this situation. So I mean, I think that's how we make the change. We utilize whatever tools that we have, and we decide that we're going to do it. I don't care what the establishment says. I don't care what you're supposed to do and not supposed to do. No, we see an opportunity to make a difference in our communities. We're just going to do it.
I like that.
I like that too, Klyph. Yeah. That's a lot. I think it's tough to look at the big national picture. It's like Matt said, it's disheartening right now to look at the big national picture with what's going on. But you're right. If we can, and Klyph being somebody who from the moment he's gotten to the Pacific Northwest has done nothing but try to build as positive an influence on his community as he can. I think that's all you can do is just what's your local situation? How can you help that?
And then, and ideally it grows from that.
Yeah.
Let's get away from this running talk for just a moment. bring it back to cycling. Got a question.
This is a weekly thing. This is a
constant battle.
What is your take on cycling? Is it something that you gravitate towards? Is it something that you're interested in? And if you are, what's keeping you from doing it or doing it more?
It's funny, bro, because like growing up, I always had a bike. I mean, that's kind of how we got around with my friends.
Yeah, because that's how you get to your friend's house even faster than running.
Exactly. Yeah. Good point. That was good.
Jake's slowly converting him. This is happening live.
At this stage, a lot of it for me personally is for lack of a better term, fear. Like just not knowing how to go up. Like the whole idea of when I'm driving on the road and I see cats on the side of the road with traffic, like that totally freaks me out.
That's completely understandable.
It should.
It should. Yes.
Working in the environment that I work in and having an opportunity to work with individuals who've had bike accidents.
Right. Yeah. You guys who've come in.
Show them your scars. Show them your scars. That'll sell them.
No, it's not that bad. Trust me.
So I think it's that. But then I think it's, for me, it's just not having been in the environment like I am now with individuals who can say, hey, this is how you get into it. Hey, this is, that's probably the biggest thing.
This is how you get comfortable riding around car, which is possible. You can, I mean, to be completely honest, this is the safest cycling region I've ever lived in by far. I mean, I joke on group rides, but like, no lie, in Ohio, there was not a shoulder and semi-trucks would blow by you about less than a foot away from you at times. So like, this to me, like with that fear, trust me, like especially in Portland, there's some areas that are super safe to be biking.
Yeah, that's something else we'll have to attack one of these days. But coming back to you though, is cycling something like if someone were there, like let's say that you and I connect and like, all right, we're going to go do this. I'm going to get you out there. I'm going to teach you how to love this and how to do it safely. Is it a sport that appeals to you? Do you want to go put on a spandex kit and get on a little skinny
That's
tire
the-
bike
yeah.
and go for a ride? Is that something that appeals to you?
Bro, the
That's the
spandex,
spandex-
kit,
the
bro.
thing with the
like,
spandex.
that
We had
might
to address
be-
the
That
spandex.
might be the no,
Cross the
I'm joking.
line.
What about the shaped legs, though? Okay.
I tell you why to a great degree it does appeal to me. I'm getting older, Jake.
Okay.
And so as a result of that, it's a matter of what are those things that I can do to continue to work on my physical wellness.
Yes.
And understanding the stress that cycling puts on my body that is different from running. And then also understanding the benefits of cross training.
Sure.
So I say all that to say, like I do think about that, man. Getting into cycling could be something that I could continue to do as I get older.
Okay. So let me ask that same question to 20-year-old Klyph. What is your take on cycling? Do you kind of look at it like, oh, look at these idiots out there on their bikes riding in their spandex kits?
Bro, I ain't gonna lie, man. The uniforms are tough for me, but
More of a mountain bike guy, like baggy shorts and the t-shirt.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I had a very good friend of mine who black guy who was into cycling.
Sure.
And I can remember here in Portland, and I can remember I never talked to him about it, but I assume he did some group rides because he had the kit.
Sure.
And we would be like at a church picnic situation, and he would ride 30 miles. And I'm thinking, wow, that's so cool that you rode here. Like, how are you getting home? Because I know you're not about to ride another 30 miles home. But that was something that he did. That was a part of his situation. But to answer your question, at that stage, I looked at it as, no, that's cool for you. I'm glad you're doing that. I'm not interested in it.
Not interested.
Yeah.
Okay. What about the African American community on the whole? Is there an appeal to cycling, or is it that we're just a bunch of idiots out there riding bicycles?
Again,
It's a generalized question.
He doesn't
I know
want to say yes.
Don't get wrapped up into speaking for.
You do not need to be
everyone, too.
PC right now. You can get it.
No. I mean, it's just it's a tough question because it's difficult to speak for a whole group.
I understand that.
Yeah.
And I
but
know
like
that
you and your
can't give
friends at that time, if you could.
Yeah. I mean, I think that if the opportunity were to present itself, I think folk would absolutely take advantage of it because when I look at big events big running events like the MLK Dream Run,
Sure.
That's really put on and supported by the African American community. People gravitate to that because they realize, oh, this is something that we can do to support something, to support one another, something that we believe in.
Yeah.
And I think if there was an event like that for cycling that folk would, absolutely. It's an opportunity to get some exercise, 100%.
So then we just need to come back to plant the seeds with the kids when they're young, so it becomes the norm.
Yeah.
And then it's another step that we need to take with the people that are our age and adults, if you will.
Old,
we need to go
elderly
adults. Just call them adults.
The elderly.
We need to go out. We need to shake a hand. We need to make a friend. We need to invite them, and we need to give them the opportunity to embrace the sport.
Right. And
around community events.
And think of what are some of the other a thought came to me. What are some of the other obstacles, right? Because where we are right now, it's kind of nice. There's nice open spaces.
Sure.
You can jump on a bike and go,
Yep.
right? But if you're talking about folk who are living in
New York
more
City.
condensed areas,
That was
where
another question I was going to have for you. Yeah.
jumping on a bike, like where am I going to be safe
Yep.
to ride?
Yeah.
Do you know what's funny? You mentioned that is I remember when USAT Nationals was in Cleveland. And I know Cleveland well, but USAT Nationals has people traveling all over the nation to get there. And I remember when they were talking about that race, we were thinking, like, where in the heck are they going to ride in Cleveland? Like, Cleveland is a crowded city and is not well-maintained roads at that time. And it was interesting because we're talking about that other side of the track thing. I remember there were conversations sitting there in transit. I can distinctly remember them where people were like, oh, yeah, do not turn down that road. Don't turn down that road. And I'll be completely open. That's the African-American communities that they're talking about in that area. And that's... I think, as we can break down that barrier of that, hey, these can be safe places to ride your bike too. People, as Jake is an unfortunate example, you can get hit on your bike anywhere, anywhere. And that's, I think, just opening that up to, I think there can still be safe roads to ride almost wherever you look. It's just got to be a thing that happens more frequently then. Yeah.
Well, that goes for everybody who lives in the inner city. It doesn't matter what color your skin is or where you're from.
Yeah.
It's tough.
It's tough riding in the inner city.
To want to do anything endurance sport related in the inner city. That's a whole nother question. How do we promote
That's a big question,
endurance sports to people who live in the inner city and get them to come out to places and ride bikes. Like Portland's a pretty good place to do that because there is the West Hills is right there. You can go ride mountain bikes for long periods of time. There's Portland International Raceway. They do weekly mountain bike races and road bike races. Like, you know, throughout the course of the year, you can go out there and do that kind of stuff. So Portland's probably a more bike-friendly town, city, whatever you want to call it, that you can kind of do that stuff. But there's going to be other cities across the country where that's going to be a really tough ask. So I don't know how to tackle that question.
That's a big question to ask.
Tell cities to start building velodromes and
seriously.
But I think so. And to that, asking that question, what about other places? Hopefully, people who are fans of Dial Podcast, who have that passion, who you guys are now encouraging to, what can you do, cyclist or endurance athlete, what can you do in your community, in your city, that now you guys are planting that seed so that they can go out and say, hey, you know, I'm a member of a community group, or I'm a member of a church group where I've got access to kids and their parents, and I can educate them and find places that we can do a short little ride, regardless of where we are, and then build that interest to people who say, man, we're frustrated, we want to be able to ride further. Then how can we get together as our community and rent a van or whatever the case may be?
There you go.
And bring people out to a place where now we have more open space.
Absolutely.
That's a good idea.
Come up to Camas, guys. It's beautiful riding up here.
Awesome. Matt, did you have any questions?
I have a hard-hitting question. You ready for this?
Okay.
You ready?
All right.
See, sweating a little bit.
A little bit.
All right. What hip-hop artist should I listen to?
Oh, my God.
Right now.
Right now?
Right now.
This is the question I literally ask him on a weekly basis.
I only get to see Klyph today, so I don't get a weekly artist. Just one artist. Could be local would be cool if it's like Portland area.
Oh, man.
Give him local.
Local, there's an artist by the name of Rashid Jamal, and he just released an album called 22 Grams, I Am That I Am. It's such a powerful, powerful project.
The album is called 23 Grams?
22 Grams.
22 Grams.
By Rashid Jamal.
Have you had him on Mic Check before?
He has performed on Mic Check. I just had him on the radio show. I've done an episode of Cliff Notes with him.
Cool.
Because you told me about him before. I remember that. Before I left East, you told me about him. I looked him up. Yeah.
Rashid Jamal.
Yeah.
That's the dude.
Can we find him on like Spotify? Or?
He's on. Album is on Spotify.
Sweet.
It's heavy. It's really, really heavy.
Anyone else?
But it's a great project.
Anyone else I should listen to?
There's an artist out of Atlanta who goes by the name of 4Ize, 4-IZE. He recently released a new project that's also great. And then one of my favorite projects that's recently been released is an artist out of Detroit named Young RJ, and it's Young RJ and Mega Man, and they just released a project called 2 Hands Up. That's really, really good. And for anybody who's a fan of hip hop, there's you may know of Slum Village or Jay Dilla or Dilla. Young RJ is also a member of Slum Village. So if you like that sound, that vibe, you'll really dig that project.
That gives me some stuff to work with.
Yes, sir.
And I can get back in front of the computer and listen to some jams while I program.
Yeah. As Klyph knows, whenever Tessa and I have listened to any hip hop recently, we have to ask Klyph if it's good or not. Because my judgment of that is so awful. It's like eating something and you being like, I don't know anything about this. I need to ask somebody who knows something.
Sure. Now, let me say, I'm really, really solid in my lane of rap music. I'll just say that.
You don't know a thing about any of the new, like any kid under the age of 16, whatever they're listening to, Klyph couldn't tell you a thing about it. He's always K-pop.
K-pop.
Yeah, it's not exactly his lane.
Not my lane. Not my lane.
I've got one last question for Klyph too. Here's my last question. Would you ever shave your legs?
I'm a firm believer that you never say never.
There you go.
Yes, that's a yes. That's a better answer than Lance ever gave.
Lance said he would never do it.
I vehemently denied it, and now I shave my legs all the time.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
Never say never.
Never say never.
Never say never, man.
Before we wrap this up, Klyph, do you have any questions for us?
No questions, man. I just want to say how much I appreciate what you guys are doing, man.
Thank you.
I really believe in give people their flowers while they're alive to smell them. And I think the work that you guys are doing is cool because you've taken something that you're passionate about, but also something that you see the benefit of just for wellness. And you're sharing that with other people, and you've created a platform now where people can really get education, but you're giving people access. And I think that that's to be commended. I think the way that you're doing the work, the podcast sounds great. And so I just want to say big ups to you guys for what you're doing, and encourage you to keep doing what you're doing, because it has, and I think it'll continue to make a difference.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Klyph. Thank you.
that's
Right
huge.
back to you too, sir.
Thanks,
right
bro.
back to you.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much for having me on, man. This is a lot of
Thank
fun.
you,
Love
Klyph.
having you.
Absolutely,
Appreciate
Klyph.
it.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
we're connected, so if you have questions about
I'll see you around in like 15 minutes.
100%. Yes.
All right, Klyph, you have a good one.
Thanks, man.
Maybe
Thanks,
we'll
you
have you back
guys.
on again soon, and let's go for a bike ride.
Yeah, we'll do it.
Yeah.
Thanks, Klyph. All right, let's jump into one last thing. Evan, hit us.
Last thing coming up on June 27th, weather permitting. Just a reminder, I will be climbing a whole bunch with Tonk and Guyvan, and it seems like all three of us are still committed to doing it.
That's
right
cool.
now.
And also,
Nobody's dropped out yet.
You made it
so-
onto my channel for one of your last things.
I did make it
insults.
onto your channel. I know.
It's huge.
I really detracted from the video, I feel like, but the video was fun.
You nailed it.
I think
That's
it's cool that you added like an interview in there. I thought that was really.
That's the first time
I
I've
like
done
it.
that.
I know.
It's the first
I thought
time
it was
turned
cool.
out really well.
That was
Jake-
good.
Jake
I
helped.
liked it a lot. That
Yeah.
stash needs to come back. I think that there's something
That's,
there.
I know.
Yeah.
It's so fun. As soon as the video came up, Cassie had forgotten I had the mustache on that day, so we're playing the video and it comes up and she just laughs. It's like
It is weird.
It's just instinctual laugh to see
It's so
both
weird
of us
to be
with a
like,
mustache.
here's this random video, and then right in the middle, it's like, bam, 2 mustaches.
Yeah, it's
Like,
just,
what is going
It's
on?
very hard to take that seriously. You
I
have to
know.
really dig deep to take that one seriously.
I even wrote on there, I was like, why are there
saw
these 2
you.
mustaches? I don't have any answers.
Sailing for
Comment below.
explanation. Yeah.
Fun. Matt, one last thing.
I put out a question or a request to all of the Instagram followers and people on Facebook, but I need the listeners of the Dial Podcast's help for this. Take a picture, or even better, a landscape video of your pain cave and send it my way, because I'm going to make a video kind of talking about top 10 pain caves that have been submitted, what I like about them, things like that. And I think it's going to be fun. I think it's going to be a fun video. It's actually pretty interesting to see what people have on their walls in their pain cave, see all their medals and their medal racks, just different ways to address pain caves. And by pain caves, I mean the spot that you're working out, whether you have one of your indoor cycling setups, or maybe it's a treadmill for running, Jake.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
I think Cassie and I set the bar for anybody who wants to look at
I haven't
his
seen
Facebook.
yours yet.
Oh,
Did you
it's-
post it
it's
somewhere?
on your Facebook.
Oh, you posted Facebook? Okay.
We posted
Find it.
underneath your comments section there.
Perfect.
Yep. Mhm.
All right.
Find it.
Yep.
I'm excited about it. That video will probably come out 2 weeks from now, but I need your help. So get on it, people.
Lance, one last thing.
My one last thing is, please be good humans and love your neighbor and take care of those people around you. And that is all I have to say.
That's such a good one last thing. Thank you, Lance, for bringing that around.
Yeah.
Oh, my one last thing. My wife did a virtual triathlon this past weekend. I just want to say congrats to her, because she's coming off a foot injury that she worked with Evan on to get squared away, and she was able to complete it. So it was kind of neat for her to.
That's cool. And
She did awesome.
Yeah, she did a hilly run area too. So I mean, your neighborhood is not known for its flats.
There's nothing flat there.
Yeah, I was going to say, there's not a-
So
Yep, that would be it for the one last thing on my end. So
nice.
All right, let us wrap this thing up and say thank you to all of you.
Thanks for having us.
Appreciate it. A big thank you to Klyph for coming on
That was
today.
awesome.
That was very cool,
Absolutely.
spectacular.
Thank
I'd love
you,
to
Klyph.
chat with him some more. We'll give you guys some updates as to some of the stuff that we talked about, how that pans out down the road. So thank you for listening. We will see you next week. Bye for now.